Most people think power comes from confrontation, from proving a point, from winning arguments in front of others. But real power often looks quieter than that. It shows up in restraint, in self-control, in the ability to leave without explanation. Walking away isn't weakness, it's a calculated decision. And when you understand it deeply, you realize it does something far more impactful than arguing ever could. It unsettles people at their core. When you refuse to engage in unnecessary conflict, you remove the stage they were expecting. Many people operate on ego. They need reactions to feel significant. When you walk away, you deny them that validation. It creates confusion. They expected resistance, emotion, maybe even desperation, but instead, they get silence. And silence is something most people don't know how to fight. There's a psychological shift that happens when you stop chasing closure. Most people are addicted to having the last word. They want to feel like they've won. But when you walk away, there is no finish line. No conclusion. Just an open loop in their mind. That unfinished business lingers, and over time, it becomes heavier than any argument you could have made. Walking away forces people to confront themselves. When you stay and argue, they can focus on you, your tone, your words, your reactions. But when you leave, there's nothing left to distract them from their own behavior. And that's uncomfortable. People don't like being alone with their own flaws, especially when someone else has quietly refused to tolerate them. It also redefines your value in their eyes. When you tolerate everything, people assume you'll always be there. They stop respecting your presence. But the moment you walk away, you introduce scarcity. And scarcity creates value. Suddenly, your absence speaks louder than your presence ever did. This is where discipline comes in. Walking away sounds simple, but it isn't easy. Your emotions will push you to respond, to defend yourself, to explain. But Stoicism teaches something different. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every battle is worth your attention. The strongest move is often the one you don't make. There's also a deeper layer to this: self-respect. When you walk away from disrespect, manipulation, or toxic behavior, you send a message to yourself first. You're saying, "I know what I deserve, and I won't settle for less." That internal shift is more important than anything happening externally. Because once you truly respect yourself, your standards rise, and the way people treat you changes. People often mistake silence for weakness, but in reality, it takes strength to remain composed when everything in you wants to react. Anyone can lash out. Anyone can argue. But not everyone can walk away with their dignity intact. That's what separates those who are controlled by their emotions from those who control themselves. Another reason walking away breaks their ego is because it disrupts control. Many conflicts are about dominance. Who can influence the other person more? When you disengage, you remove yourself from that dynamic completely. You can't be controlled if you're no longer participating. And that loss of control is what frustrates people the most. Over time, this behavior builds a reputation around you. People begin to see that you're not easily pulled into drama. You're not reactive. You're not desperate for validation. And that alone commands respect. Not because you demanded it, but because your actions proved it. There's also a long-term advantage here. When you stop wasting energy on pointless conflicts, you free yourself to focus on what actually matters: your growth, your goals, your future. While others are stuck in cycles of ego battles, you're moving forward. Quietly. Consistently. Effectively. And here's the truth most people won't admit. The ones who try to provoke you often expect you to stay. They rely on your reaction. When you leave, you break that expectation. And that break creates impact. It forces them to rethink how they approach you, and sometimes, how they approach others too. Walking away doesn't mean you're avoiding life. It means you're choosing your battles wisely. It means you understand that your time and energy are limited, and you refuse to waste them on things that don't serve you. That mindset alone puts you ahead of most people. If you start practicing this, don't expect immediate understanding from others. Some will call you cold. Some will say you're ignoring problems. But over time, results speak louder than opinions. Your peace will grow. Your focus will sharpen. And the people who matter will begin to respect you more. So the next time you're tempted to argue, to prove a point, or to defend your ego, pause. Ask yourself if it's worth your energy. Ask yourself if engaging will actually improve your life, or just drain it. And if the answer is no, then do the one thing most people can't do. Walk away. If this way of thinking challenges you and helps you see things differently, subscribe to the channel for more insights like this. Most people underestimate how much their identity is tied to being acknowledged. When you walk away, you don't just leave the situation, you remove their sense of importance in that moment. They were expecting to matter enough to provoke you, to trigger something. But your silence tells them they didn't reach you at all. That realization hits deeper than any insult you could have delivered. There's also the element of emotional independence. When you react instantly, it shows you're still tied to the situation. But when you walk away calmly, it signals something powerful. You are not emotionally dependent on their approval, their opinion, or their presence. And that level of independence is rare. People notice it, even if they don't admit it. Walking away also protects your reputation in ways you might not immediately see. In conflicts, people rarely remember who was right. They remember who lost control. The one who stays calm, who refuses to engage in chaos, is often perceived as the more mature and composed person. Over time, this builds a quiet authority around you that words alone can't create. Another overlooked truth is that walking away exposes insecurity. People who rely on arguments, manipulation, or emotional reactions are often masking something deeper. When you refuse to participate, their usual tactics stop working. And without those tactics, their insecurity becomes more visible, not just to you, but to others as well. It also shifts the power dynamic completely. Power isn't about who talks louder or longer, it's about who needs the interaction less. The person who can leave at any time holds the real control. When you demonstrate that you can walk away without hesitation, you position yourself as someone who cannot be easily controlled or influenced. There's a level of unpredictability that comes with walking away. Most people follow patterns: argument, reaction, escalation, resolution. When you break that pattern, it creates uncertainty. And uncertainty makes people uncomfortable. They don't know how to respond, how to regain control, or how to win. That discomfort lingers longer than any argument would. Walking away also forces clarity. When you step back from a situation, you remove yourself from emotional noise. You start seeing things as they are, not as they feel in the heat of the moment. This clarity helps you make better decisions, avoid unnecessary drama, and protect your long-term peace. Another powerful aspect is self-discipline. Anyone can stay in a situation and react. It takes control to leave. Every time you choose to walk away instead of reacting, you strengthen that discipline. And discipline, over time, becomes part of your identity. You stop being someone who reacts impulsively and become someone who moves with intention. There's also a silent message you send to others watching. Not everyone speaks up during conflict, but many observe. When they see you refuse to engage in negativity, it sets a standard. It shows that you don't tolerate certain behaviors. And that standard influences how people approach you in the future. Walking away can also be a test. The people who truly respect you will reflect, adjust, and come back with better behavior. The ones who don't will reveal themselves through their reaction: more anger, more attempts to provoke, more disrespect. Either way, you gain clarity about who deserves access to your life. Another truth is that not every explanation is necessary. Many people feel the need to justify their actions, to explain why they're leaving. But constant explanation often comes from a place of needing approval. When you walk away without over-explaining, you show confidence in your decision. You don't need permission to protect your peace. There's also a long-term emotional benefit. When you avoid unnecessary conflicts, you reduce stress, overthinking, and emotional exhaustion. That energy can then be redirected into something productive: your goals, your growth, your future. Over time, this creates a gap between you and those who are constantly drained by drama. Walking away teaches people how to treat you. If you tolerate everything, they'll keep pushing boundaries. But when you leave at the first sign of consistent disrespect, you create a boundary without needing to argue. And boundaries enforced through action are always stronger than those explained through words. It's important to understand that walking away is not about pride, it's about standards. Pride wants to win arguments. Standards want to protect peace. When you operate from standards, your decisions become clearer. You're not reacting emotionally, you're responding based on what aligns with your values. There's also a hidden advantage in mystery. When you don't react, don't explain, and don't engage, people are left to interpret your silence. And often, they overthink it. They wonder what you're thinking, why you didn't respond, whether they misjudged you. That uncertainty keeps your presence in their mind longer than any argument would. Over time, this habit reshapes your entire life. You attract fewer toxic situations because people sense your boundaries early. You waste less time on meaningless interactions. And you develop a stronger sense of control over your environment and your emotions. The truth is simple but hard to practice. Not everything deserves your attention. And the more selective you become with where you invest your energy, the more powerful your presence becomes. Walking away is not about losing, it's about choosing where you refuse to lose yourself. If you're starting to see the power in this mindset and want more insights that help you build discipline, self-control, and real confidence, subscribe to the channel and keep learning. One of the hardest truths to accept is that some people only respect consequences, not words. You can explain yourself 100 times, set verbal boundaries, and try to be understood, but until your actions change, nothing else will. Walking away is that action. It's the moment your standards become real. And once people experience that shift, they begin to take you seriously. There's also a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is immediate, emotional, and often regrettable. Responding, on the other hand, is intentional. Walking away is one of the most powerful responses because it creates space. In that space, emotions settle, clarity returns, and you regain control over how you want to move forward. Another thing most people don't realize is that arguments rarely change minds. People defend their ego more than they defend truth. So when you stay and argue, you're often fighting a battle that was never meant to be won logically. Walking away removes you from that cycle. It saves you from wasting energy trying to convince someone who isn't ready to understand. Walking away also builds inner stability. The more you practice it, the less external situations shake you. You begin to realize that your peace doesn't depend on other people behaving the way you want. It depends on your ability to control your reactions. That realization is freeing. It puts you back in charge of your own state of mind. There's a silent strength in not needing to prove yourself. Many conflicts are driven by the desire to be seen as right, smart, or justified. But when you truly know your worth, you don't feel that pressure anymore. Walking away becomes easier because you're no longer trying to earn validation from people who don't matter. It also teaches patience. Not every situation needs an immediate response. Sometimes the best move is to step back, observe, and let things unfold. Time has a way of revealing truth. And when you're not caught in emotional reactions, you're in a better position to see things clearly and act wisely. Walking away can also protect your future opportunities. One heated argument, one emotional outburst, can damage relationships, reputations, and chances you haven't even seen yet. By choosing restraint, you avoid unnecessary consequences. You keep doors open instead of closing them in moments of anger. There's also a deeper level of confidence that comes from detachment. When you're not attached to winning, being right, or being validated, you become harder to manipulate. People can't use your emotions against you because you're no longer reacting the way they expect. That kind of control makes you unpredictable, and that's where real strength lies. Another important point is that walking away doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care enough about yourself to not engage in what drains you. It's a shift from external focus to internal responsibility. You stop trying to fix everything around you and start protecting what's within you. Walking away also reveals patterns. When you step back from situations, you start noticing repeated behaviors, both in others and in yourself. You see what triggers conflict, what leads to disrespect, and what environments bring out the worst in people. That awareness helps you make better choices moving forward. There's also a level of maturity involved. Immaturity reacts instantly, seeks attention, and thrives on drama. Maturity understands timing, restraint, and silence. When you walk away, you show that you're operating on a different level, one that values long-term peace over short-term satisfaction. Another overlooked truth is that your energy is limited. Every argument, every unnecessary interaction, takes something from you. And if you're not careful, you end up drained with nothing meaningful to show for it. Walking away is how you protect that energy and redirect it toward things that actually improve your life. It also builds resilience. At first, walking away might feel uncomfortable. You might replay the situation in your mind, thinking about what you could have said. But over time, that feeling fades. You become more comfortable with silence, more confident in your decisions, and less affected by external noise. Walking away can also be a form of leadership. Not everyone has the courage to break away from toxic dynamics. When you do, you set an example. You show that it's possible to choose peace over chaos, discipline over impulse. And sometimes, that influence spreads further than you expect. There's also a quiet sense of freedom that comes with it. When you're no longer tied to every opinion, every provocation, every misunderstanding, you move differently. You think clearly. You act deliberately. You stop being pulled in different directions by other people's behavior. In the end, walking away is about alignment. It's about choosing actions that match your values, your goals, and the kind of life you want to build. It's not always easy, and it won't always be understood. But it will always move you forward. And that's the difference. While others are stuck proving points, you're building a life. If this perspective is helping you rethink how you handle conflict, stay with this channel. There's more here that will sharpen your mindset, strengthen your discipline, and help you move with real control. Walking away removes their fuel. Most people who provoke you are not looking for truth, they're looking for reaction. Your anger, your defense, your attention, that's their fuel. The moment you walk away, you cut off that supply. Without your reaction, their effort feels pointless, and that hits their ego hard. It creates an unfinished story in their mind. When you argue, there's a clear ending: someone wins or loses. But when you walk away, there's no closure. Humans hate unfinished situations. They keep replaying it, wondering what you meant, what you were thinking. That mental loop bothers them more than any words you could have said. It forces self-reflection, even if they resist it. If you stay, they focus on attacking you. If you leave, there's no one left to attack. Now the attention shifts inward. Even if they don't admit it, a part of them starts questioning their own behavior, and that's uncomfortable for the ego. It shows you are not controllable. The biggest hidden game in conflict is control. Whoever can influence the other person's emotions feels powerful. When you walk away calmly, you send a clear message. You don't control me. That loss of control is what frustrates them the most. It increases your perceived value. People often take what's always available for granted. If you always stay, argue, and tolerate things, your presence loses weight. But when you walk away, your absence creates value. Suddenly, they realize you're not guaranteed, and that changes how they see you. It protects your image and reputation. In most conflicts, people don't remember the details. They remember behavior. The person who stayed calm and left looks disciplined. The one who got emotional looks unstable. Walking away quietly builds respect over time, even from people who disagree with you. It strengthens your self-respect. This one is important. Walking away isn't just about them, it's about you. Every time you tolerate disrespect, your self-worth takes a hit. Every time you walk away, you reinforce your standards. Over time, this builds real confidence, not fake confidence, but grounded self-respect. It breaks toxic patterns. Most arguments follow the same cycle: provoke, react, escalate, regret. Walking away interrupts that pattern completely. And once you break the pattern, you stop being predictable. That unpredictability gives you an advantage. It saves your energy for what actually matters. You don't have unlimited energy. If you waste it on every argument, Every provocation, you'll have nothing left for your goals. Walking away is not avoidance, it's prioritization. You're choosing growth over distraction. It reveals who people really are. When you walk away, people react in different ways. Some reflect and improve. Others become more aggressive or try harder to provoke you. That reaction tells you everything you need to know about them. You gain clarity without needing long conversations. It builds emotional discipline. Anyone can react, it's easy. Walking away requires control. And the more you practice it, the stronger your discipline becomes. Eventually, you stop reacting impulsively in all areas of your life, not just conflict. It keeps you focused on the bigger picture. Most arguments are about small, temporary things. But your life, your goals, your future, that's the bigger picture. Walking away helps you stay aligned with that. You stop getting distracted by things that don't matter long term. It replaces ego with standards. Reacting is ego-driven. I need to prove myself. Walking away is standards-driven. I don't engage in this. That shift changes everything. You stop trying to win arguments and start protecting your peace. It creates silent power. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. Real power is quiet. It doesn't need to prove anything. When you can leave without explaining, without reacting, without seeking validation, you operate from a level most people never reach. How to actually apply this in real life? Pause when triggered. Don't respond immediately. Ask yourself if this matters in the long term. If it doesn't, disengage, physically or emotionally. Don't over-explain your exit. Keep it simple or say nothing. Redirect your focus to something productive immediately. If you start practicing this, it won't feel natural at first. You'll want to react. That's normal. But if you stay consistent, something shifts, you become calmer, sharper, harder to disturb. And that's the real goal. If you want more breakdowns like this that actually help you build discipline, control your emotions, and move smarter in life, subscribe and stay consistent with this content.